I'm just on that ball game. I can't type my face. In my morning ball game, I can get some space. Greetings, everybody. Salutations to all sentient beings. It's your old buddy Ingrid Bernal here, getting the pen warmed up, getting ready to think. The Heccune, the Heccune Carapace, the Heccune Carapace. Exactly what does that mean? I don't know. As usual, just going where the nose leads. I've got my monster mug filled with coffee. We got just a couple minutes while we let everybody filter in, wake up, get the sleep out of the eyes. I got a bad hairdo. I got a pen. And I think all the audio issues are gone. I think even in the tools video they were fixed. So that's a good thing, finally. Thanks you for your patience through all that. And hey, over in beautiful Las Vegas. Thanks for joining me. Hey, it's going really good. NP. I suddenly realized this was going to get started, so I promised I would show the whole thing, so here I am. Oh, welcome to the end of the ice, and now at the midnight sun and hunting ground. Alrighty then. Greetings, everybody. Hey, oh, I'm close. Hi, guys. Old Ingrid Bernal here. Back once again. So, with a very short introduction, thank you for tuning in, everybody. I have mentioned how I'm going to build this sort of small campaign, maybe 3 nights of gameplay. That's my target. And it's sort of a strike force type campaign. I'm not sure, totally honest. All I know is this nonsense word, which is the Heccune Carapace. This part is immovable. So I've chosen one creative anchor, which is, to be honest, is completely meaningless, like kernel of right-brained randomness. I don't know where this word even came from or why this has been on my mind, but this idea has been sort of stirring in my brain a few times. This thing called the Heccune Carapace. And so I'm going to try to explore exactly what it is. I think I have the beginning of a vague idea, but today the project is conceptual development. So for me, in my career, a lot of this was visual development. So what I would do is visually develop ideas that could later then be created by a staff of production artists or by myself and others that would, sort of form an artistic sort of vision. In this case, we're doing a little bit of 2 in 1. We're going to be doing the visual development for some of the core ideas in this like small campaign or large adventure. You can see it either way. And then maybe on the side, we might spin off some verbal ideas that come from the pictures. So those verbal ideas then could be mined when we reach the sort of writing and design stage. And you'd be like, ooh, back when I was drawing, I made this note that like this big thing rotates. Maybe that could be used in a mechanic in the adventure. So that's going to be part of it as well. Okay, so without much ado, because I woke up with funny fingers. Funny fingers want to draw. Funny fingers want to draw. So don't ever deny funny fingers. That's just not cool. So here we're going to go. I won't be able to see you guys' comments because I live in a world of complete Photoshop these days with these videos because it helps me really kind of keep my eyes where they should be, which is the work. So thanks for everybody for tuning in. Let's get right to it. Get ready for infinity. Okay. So I just have a 4,000 by 3,000 pixel canvas right here. Kind of a standard size I use all the time. That's, basically 10 inches high and 12 inches wide on normal print. So it's a little more than a page, so you're always kind of thinking in a page. But with plenty of resolution to do some other stuff later. So anyways, I make a blank layer. I've got my small brush. This is my sparse triangle brush that I always use. It's like the only brush that I use besides the oval, which is stock Photoshop. So let's see. What do we got here? What What am I feeling? So there's my first line that I find interesting. So I know that this thing is a gigantic sort of crustacean or something. I don't think it's a crustacean, but it's similar to one. But it's semi-mechanical. It might even be a semi-insect. But the thing is enormous. So like one thing I could do is kind of give myself a little reminder here that like this is like a town. This thing is bigger than a town. I know that much. Now I know everybody makes jokes about the Tarrasque and all this kind of stuff. But I really think that the concept of the Tarrasque is really sort of just made a joke out of way too often, and it's never really confronted in a meaningful sort of substantive way as an adventure. And one adventure that I really did like where we kind of did this was the I think it was called Baromech or the Walker, but it was a Harbinger adventure where we had a walking dungeon. And this is what I'm designing. I want to do a walking dungeon. But I have some sort of oddball ideas about what it's inspired by. I think what's going to be interesting is trying to capture that. So like here, I like this one. This is kind of has some potential. So as you can see, I'm drawing blobs. What am I doing exactly? This is where I'm just trying to sort of let my hand guide me a little bit. I'm just almost doing like arbitrary wiggling with my hand while drawing somewhat similar shapes or shapes that echo each other. So you notice I've already started camping out on this little lip down here, or this little sort of lift in the shell. And so you see I just add a circle, and suddenly, just that fast, I start to see what I've been wanting to see. So in this case, I think, did I like fill this with white? Am I that bad at what I do? Yeah, I sure did. That's okay. One thing you can do if you accidentally fill your layer with white, just use a non-contiguous wand and just go like this and paste it in and get rid of this. Now it's just only line work. So anyway, so I'm going to bring this guy down here, and I'm just going to kind of put him up here as a memory. Okay, now I'm going to remember him. Okay, and now I'm just going to keep going. You know, I could go for a lower profile. Maybe there's like something cut into it. But you see, I'm just sort of camping on this nice little lip. This lip is my, again, sort of looking for creative anchors. Like, is this thing sort of like low and mean like this? Like, I don't think I had imagined it being so tall, like in this drawing up here on the left. But I know that it's not like a turtle. Okay, that's cool. I like that. Why do I like it? I have no idea. I don't even really know what I'm drawing yet. So I'm going purely on creative instinct. I really don't know what I'm getting myself into yet. Okay, now we're starting to get into some ideas. And I like this profile a lot better. So I don't even need this guy anymore. Just let him go. He's gone. There we go. So I think I have an idea here. Now, to get some shapes developed, sometimes instead of drawing, because, you know, drawing like this, and then like here's a seam, and like here's a panel and stuff like that, it almost implies that you already know kind of what it is you're drawing. And if you don't know what you're drawing, check out this little trick. See how big my brush is getting? Like a really big brush. Now look at this. I got a blob, I got a blob, I got a blob, and I got another blob. Look at those nice blobs. Now I grab my eraser, make it pretty big too, and sort of, I wouldn't call it cleaning up the shapes because you don't even really know what you're drawing. So you can't correct errors if you don't know what's right and what's wrong. But what I'm doing is, again, just letting my hand sort of move. Since I don't know what I'm drawing, I just have to let my hand guide me. Which I know, it sounds a little bit nonsensy, and it can be difficult. But see, like that shape, it's just not going anywhere for me. So that's okay. I'm just going to move on. Ooh, see that little cut there. That's a good cut. Why? I don't know yet. Okay, so as you can see, I've used these blobs rather, they're solid objects or solid black rather than line work. And now I'm going to sort of experiment with what some of these might look like. Like, does it have a bunch of little short legs? Does it have like some War of the Worlds-y kind of tripod-y long legs? Does it got some kind of this thing going on? Right? Now, the joy of doing this with shapes and with black ink rather than with your brain is that you are judging your idea based on seeing it. And to me, this is what's so important about conceptual development. You are not thinking it. You're looking at it. And so you're using, to me, a different part of the brain to ask yourself, is this what I was imagining? Does this fit my dream? Which can be a very difficult question, as I've been saying, when you don't know what your dream was. Now that may sound a little bit nonsensical, but I'm not really here to make sense so much as to show you guys how I like to think, how I do a lot of my work. Now, is my work worth documenting? Well, that's a separate question. Now, I do like how this upper drawing, so now I'm going to return a little bit to the upper drawing, has this sort of front, that nice little curve in the front. So you see how that piece improved? It just took on more shape, sort of rhythm or interest when I added that sloped front like that. I seem to be echoing some type of little rail or something on the back. I don't know what that is. But again, this is how it begins. It doesn't begin with knowing, oh, it's going to be this, at least for me. So these are just like, you know, wondering myself, does this thing like have cables? Does it have like mechanical parts? I think it has some mechanical parts. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure that because I like this drawing up top that it has like sort of multiple eyes, like lots of them. Especially if you get up close to it, it has like hundreds. Now again, like sort of what is this thing? I don't know yet. We haven't developed that part of the concept. So what I'm doing right now is I'm getting myself something like, you know, what is this? 4 options that I can evaluate with my eyes, not my brain. And then these options could lead to more concepts. Because remember, we're trying to design something that can sustain multiple sessions of play. And the data for that play needs to be implicit in the artwork and in the writing. Because we're not writing for just me and my friends. We're writing to publish. We're doing the RPG Underground, right? So you need to be thinking in a way that can communicate your idea to others. Now that isn't always what you're doing, because sometimes you're just working on, you know, game material for your homies. But the RPG Underground sort of stream series concept is that we're able to communicate and transmit our idea. So this one here definitely has this sort of carapace feel that I've been thinking of. I think there's like some blobby lumps on this thing. And you can see that my triangular brush is a real inconvenience to me sometimes because it creates shapes I don't really want, like really sharp shapes. And maybe I want a blobby shape. But that's all part of the discovery of seeing what your pen is going to do, not what your brain is going to think. Because I honestly think the left brain is quite poor at coming up with ideas. The left brain is good at, you know, synthesis, comprehension, retention, and all this other stuff, but it's not a very playful brain. What are these things? I have no idea. Some kind of trebuchet thing going on up here. Now this is Fantasyland, so I don't want to get so into sci-fi that I'm just like am leaving fantasy completely behind. That's not going to be cool. So I guess that's another creative anchor, right? And those anchors just make me feel very, very confident because I know that they're non-negotiable. And I'm not working with a collaborator, so I don't need to even ask someone if, this, that, or the other thing is a good idea. So if I, for my own purposes, decide that something's a creative anchor, it's damn well an anchor. I'm definitely kind of liking this sort of cable theme. There's something that feels right about that. This thing is just goofy. I don't want a spaghetti monster. That just doesn't feel good. So let's try something we haven't tried on the other designs, which is fewer leg pieces that are bigger. So these are like the legs that are in the back. Now, yeah, I'm not going to get a lot of perspective and friggin' drawing magic here just because I'm doing these sort of blobs, but I think you can see how I'm starting to develop the concept. And the most important thing here is if you guys are working on your concepts along with me, the most important thing is to let this just happen. Do not critique yourself right now. Do not do it. You don't need to be critiqued at this stage. There's nothing to critique. Since we don't even know the goal, we can't know if you're doing a good job or not. So just let go of the notion of critiquing. And believe me, it is a learned skill to let go of critique. It is not easy. Your left brain is always going to want to horn in and tell you whether or not what you're doing is right. Okay, so you see how I've sort of developed these concepts. Kind of taken a little time to delve a bit. To ask, like, which one is it? Or what am I doing? Now, I kind of like the shell on this second one a lot, but I don't really like these sort of straight, kind of like uncooked spaghetti legs. But I also don't like the mecha legs that I've developed over here. I mean, they look cool and they're drawn well. I'm not happy with how they're drawn, but remember, that's not the point. Drawing well is not the goal right now. It's fitting what your right brain is wanting with what you're drawing. So I don't need that drawing anymore. So now I'm going to start doing a little bit of Frankenstein magic. So I know that I'm pretty sure I like this Carapace here. So I just take that guy out. You see that? That's really cool. But I don't like almost any of my leg options. So what I can do is I can place this little piece of drawing over here that I kind of am enjoying. Remember, I still don't know why I enjoy it. That's so critical to recall. And then I'm going to kind of think about some legs. So I could do the sort of the bent one, where it kind of goes up over itself like that. There's a little guard bar on the bottom, and there's these little sort of gadgets and doodads. Remember, I don't want to get too much into like hydraulics and everything because this is still fantasy. So you don't want to get really mechy. A little bit of mechy though always fits in fantasy in my mind. So there would be one leg version. Another one you could do the sort of the big thigh style, which is like kind of made popular by Appleseed by Musamune Shiro, or Shiro Masamune. Like that. So I know that's extremely simple, but if I give you some seams here, you could probably understand it better. See that? Like there. So it's like a large thigh piece with a teeny little shin piece and foot piece like that. Little bar on there. Now that's interesting only because it's so stinking counterintuitive. There's something really, really puzzling about that one. So again, I'm just putting on the white seams so that my brain can see like what kind of shapes I might be imagining. All right, let's get one more leg option because for some reason I find this important. I know that I don't like the stick. How about like one of these guys, these cantilevered. This is very War of the Worlds feeling right here. Now, you guys, I'm always making these sort of axiomatic statements that things look like things. Oh yeah, this looks like War of the Worlds. Oh yeah, this looks like Destiny, whatever. I do so only with the most humble heart. And of course, I'm no authority on like any of this stuff. It's just, again, what my right brain, what pops in. And the skill I really want to reinforce with what I'm doing today is not drawing. It is the skill of just letting it pop in, letting your thoughts pop in. Now, none of these are very insecty, and I find that disappointing. So I'm going to kind of reduce this a little bit. Now I'm going to keep going because I'm just not satisfied. So let's think a little more insecty, right? You've got like, they're more like these organic shapes like this. And then maybe like a blobby shape like this, like with the big thigh. So we're going to do each version. So that we got the big thigh, and then we got this little thing here. Ooh, that's kind of cool. I'm digging on that. And then there's a little kneecap right here. I mean, of course, insects don't have kneecaps, but I think you get my meaning. And then we have the spindly insect leg, which is extremely minimalist in its sort of natural design, which is more like that, right? Very minimalist. And then maybe you have like these little dudes. So those would be more insectoid options. Now, remember our goal. Our goal is to use our eyes to make decisions and judicious choices, not our brain. Now, in some ways, at least if you're me, that sounds almost impossible. Sounds very difficult. So what we're going to do, we're going to take the thing that we like, which is this little carapace here, this little shell, which is bigger than a city. I'm going to do this. I'm going to get 3 options. Okay. There we go. Now I'm going to take these legs and get them off of here. The joy of Photoshop, right, is that you can do all this stuff. You don't have to just draw everything right the first time. And I'm going to take my current favorite leg, which is this one, and take a look at how this might look. Now, to give myself a little more sense of visual definition, you can try this. Just put a white stroke on your shape. This, boop, there you go, white, a little bigger, check it. That's probably fine. And then move it into place. You see that? I just put a stroke on it like that. It's super corny, but it lets me see the work. There we go. Interesting. Okay, I don't think it would be that big. It would be more like this. So this takes some of the height off of my thing. Okay, I'd say my next favorite is probably this one. Okay, and then you can always just grab effects and stick them on other things. So see that? Now I've got my little outline on my guy here. And then I'm kind of digging this style too, like this sort of really spindly insecty one. So let's grab that guy, let's throw the stroke on. And see there, I get some definition. Okay, now this is already kind of interesting to me. I'm seeing some potential here. Now, one fun thing about using cheesy effects too is that you'll just get them as you continue working, so you don't have to keep applying them. So you can see right away I get my nice stroke so that it defines itself. It's just so weird though. It doesn't add up, does it? There's none of these options really add up. And that's okay. So I'm just going to take these guys. Goodbye. Let's take a look at my original work. You know, looking back on what I did originally, I definitely think I had some magic right here. And that's why that arrow is there. And it's okay that I had to go wander in the desert a little while to find that out. So I'm going to grab these legs. I'm going to stick them on here. And that's my design. So I'm going to bring this down. I'm going to make him shorter. You know, I thought he was going to be like really, really tall, but I just don't think that's working. So I'm going to go like this, like this. Oh, killer. Okay, that's what I wanted. Now I'm also gonna thin these out. Now, like, why does this matter? You might be wondering to yourself. Why does the leg design matter? One of the key things, in my opinion, for doing what we do as a hobby, especially for attracting and exciting others, is to have designs that are compelling. And compelling is a very vague and difficult word when you're confronting like art quality. And so I think like all this stuff basically freaking matters. It matters. It's nearly impossible to do awesome things on the first go. This still isn't what I wanted, and that's okay. So I'm going to clean up my workspace. I'm going to focus in on this guy a little bit, and I'm just going to start making a mess here. I'm thinking, again, kind of like Shiro, this thing has like a lot of legs. And this is how it moves. It kind of like has this crawl along type movement where the legs like ripple. Now I'm not going to be animating any of this. Like none of this is going to be in a freaking, polygon animated environment for a video game. But thinking that way is what's going to give me part of the dividends that I'm looking for. Thinking with that much detail about how it moves. And then you get into some of the stuff that is more familiar maybe to an RPG designer, which is like where it came from. And we're going to get into all that. So I hope you guys are all still hanging around. Right now, just kind of doing a little more shape definition. Like one thing you can always do to get more shape definition is add these sort of things. But I know that I wanted this cut. Remember I said this during the very first phase. I wanted some kind of a cut. Like there's a sub piece to it. And that sub piece is round. I know that. And I know that it's got some of these sort of round, like sort of weapon nodules or like bulbs to it. Again, inspired by some of the designs of Appleseed. And I want to be really careful here too and not accidentally like imply any kind of human facial features, because that can be very easy to do accidentally on almost all shapes and designs. Like human faces hide everywhere. So you don't want that. That's going to be very distracting on this. So see how it has that big bulb on there? And I think it's going to have more of those. Like these little guys. And then these little bulbs are going to have either weapons or little parapets or something. But that, to me, is our first real look at the Heccune Carapace. Now this big eye is blowing the scale. For the scale to read, I need lots of small ones, not a big one like this. I think it's going to read as much larger. Now, this gets into a little bit of a discussion of like drawing technique. What makes things look big? What makes things look small? And I'm not really here to talk about that today. You guys are just going to have to sort of intuit what I may or may not be doing if it's something that you want to use in your own work. But to me, the real message of today is letting yourself think with your hand. Do not beat yourself up if you don't know what you're going to do or see it quite yet. Let yourself find it. Give yourself the time and space to happily find it and have a good time doing it. Okay, so this is still just a rough, right? This is just black ink. So let me jump over here. We're going to go into the infinity. I know I'm a total noob with OBS, and I've been getting all this great advice on how to use OBS better. And I appreciate that from everybody. Been learning a lot. I'm just saving out, so I wanted to spare you guys my file interface, basically. Okay, great. So we've kind of got one of our first steps here. And great to have everybody online. Oh, 100 people on Saturday morning? Well, that's a good time if you ask me. So, where are we at right now? Well, I just have my first shape, and now this is the moment that the lesson takes its most potent form, which is not to become attached to that drawing, even though it's kind of fun. Like, yeah, see, that's a great thing. It's like, that kind of looks like headphones. I don't really want that kind of, that implication. I don't really want to suggest a shape of headphones. So that's a great point. Already, you're just like, interesting. And then we've got some other great ideas from you guys, like sort of spindly tentacle things that could be used to probe the surface and this kind of stuff. So in your own work, this is a critical moment because the left brain is so greedy. The left brain wants to come in and say, ooh, you've got a good drawing. I'm ready to go. No, you have only just begun, my friend. Okay, so let's go back here. Okay, so we're right here. And yeah, now that it's been mentioned, the whole headphone factor is driving me crazy. So real quick before I move forward, I'm just going to say, man, you're right, screw this thing. So I'm going to leave the lump. See that lump? It's kind of nice there, but I'm going to add a different lump. It's going to be like up here, and then maybe there's one here. So you see how instead of like going backward, I just sort of took some really good, tough critique and just embrace it. Just, it's fine. Just let yourself edit and make a mess and do and undo and just let yourself have fun. Yeah, and so that critique already kind of leveled up my design in a way. I've got this much more loose sense of blobs, and so thank you. And you know what? Now the face even maybe is kind of rubbing me a little strange. So what if it didn't have one? What if it was more like this? Kind of weirder, right? I kind of like it. So let's do that. Let's just blob it out like this. Now, some people are going to be like, dude, you're ruining that was somewhat decent. Perhaps it was. But remember, this is one of the reasons I really do believe in working destructively. You just don't look back. Just let it happen. Oh, this is already more interesting. I love it. Now this front gate is kind of taking over the image, so I'm going to do this. See how much more like alien it just became? Then the other idea with these sort of probers, which are articulated, right? Micro-articulated, I believe is what the comment said. So they're like these little guys. Now I think I've got enough ideas. Okay, I'm good. There is what I had imagined, the Heccune Carapace. So, where do I want to go next? Well, I'm going to need a really cool piece of art to actually show this thing and do the full-on like line drawing and everything. I just have a feeling I need it. I just need it. I might paint it with color. I just don't know yet. But there's something else I'm interested in right now. And I'm being honest. This like stream is not like pre-planned in any way. I didn't know quite what I would do. But I suddenly have this feeling of seeing this from the top. And I want to play. I want to have fun with that. Here's some of those nodules. There's like one you can sort of see almost the whole thing. Now, what's making me draw the circles where? I have no idea. I'm just making like a balanced sort of shape. Why is this important to me? I have no idea. I was just like, those lines are bugging me. Okay. So I don't even know what that little thing is. But again, whoa, what is this? So suddenly I'm thinking in my like RPG mapper brain. Okay, let's get a bigger pen so I don't have to just do all this pointless scribbling. Here we go. So as a mapper, this line right here, if you see my little brush there, is not really important. This is important. I want to get architectural delineation, not perspective. So see what I mean in a second when I break through the hard surface of this. Okay, so this line right here, if you see my brush, that is not a map, a salient line from the map. This is where the rest of that ball goes, inside the carapace. Now, one thing that I've always said about making like really nice dotted lines is just go ahead and draw your entire line, and then get your eraser or your white and just go like this. And this kind of implies like this is under the surface. You can't see this, right? So those are interior. Now, I know that I wanted like something rotating. I just don't know how. I don't know what it is yet. So I'm just gonna start winging it and say there's some kind of door here. And there's some kind of a door here. And there's some kind of door here. And these things rotate. And there is an interior structure. And this probably isn't going to be enough interior work to really make this a functional, sort of encounter or series of encounters. But that's okay. Figure it out later. So, if that's kind of what I'm imagining, now I just want to play. I want to get a more concrete sense what I'm doing. So I just made a layer underneath there. Here, I'm just going to make this multiply so I can't see any white work that I did. I made a layer underneath, and now I'm just coloring in with gray. And if you guys have seen a lot of my sort of mapping advice that I give, this is just a common technique to help your eye see which parts are walkable and which parts are solid matter. Now my interior is feeling kind of arbitrary right now, like I've got zigs and zags in my corridors that would be meaningless for gameplay. But that's okay. Just having fun. So there we go. This is the carapace. So I'm going to merge these two down together. Now, what else? There's a lot more going on in my exterior view, right? Like there's all these little gadgets and machines and little arbalests and catapults and things. And I'm starting to think I'm kind of creating another warp shell type creature, which is kind of a common theme in my work, are these like natural crustaceans or insects that have been fitted or bound with mechanical components. It's kind of mean. You see, so here's like where some of these arbalests and stuff are hanging off. Maybe too, I think they're like troops inside of here of some kind, and they use like these loopholes and these little fortifications to unleash various defenses on their enemies. Now, one way I can remind myself that this is organic matter is to put these sort of pokey dots. And the pokey dots are just kind of like almost like cheetah spots. They're just random and organic, but man, they just give you such a quick sense of, oh, this is not mechanical. Some little dots here to give some surface. Now, what are inside these main nodules? This is probably one of maybe 3 layers. So another thing I would like to do, I go back to here. I think we're looking at like this level. So what I would like to do as I continue the design is get like this level, and then I think there's like a sub level down here. So we get 1, 2, and 3. Now, exactly what the hell I'm doing, I'm not quite sure yet. So these things rotate, so they probably have a pivot in the middle. This line is just too obnoxious considering it's not actually visible. There we go. Now you've got to wonder at this point, what part of your brain is operating on this problem? To be honest, I think a lot more of the left brain is now beginning to become active. I just can't stop it. So I'm feeling what is needed, basically, like what I need to complete this. And I think it might be time for me to write words down, which is always like a sort of momentous and scary moment. So I need troops. I need power. How is this thing powered? I need movement. And maybe purpose. I know these are heavy words, but I'm just trying to satisfy my left brain so it'll go away. This is the beginning of the non-visual conceptual development right here. You just saw it happen. I kind of almost didn't want it to happen, but that map view just kind of popped my brain in a way. So troops, we have like the crew or parasites within this thing and on its surface. Then for power, it's either goo or it's magical. How about magical goo? For the movement, we're going to call it level 3, and I'm going to postpone this for a while, but down on the 3rd level, the sub-level of this machine or this creature, there's all these moving parts. All these legs are moving in these huge, like, big kind of craziness, and I definitely want some excitement to happen down there. And then its purpose. Now, this is the wildest question. Talk about premature left brain demand. This thing awakens, I think, to migrate. I think that's all it's doing. It's like just wants to go to the ocean. That's all it does. Is like every 400 years, this thing like comes digging out of the mountains, or one of these things. It like grows in the mountains, and one of these things grows, and then all it does is walk to the ocean, and it takes it like 2 months to walk to the ocean, and it destroys everything in its path inadvertently. But what this sort of evil villain has done is use it as a mobile battle fortress. So who is our villain? This is the sort of the mastermind of enslaving this almost godlike entity. I think it's a female, and I might call her something cheesy like Spectre. Spectre, I think that was just my left brain, basically going back to Battle of the Planets, a show also known as G-Force. It's a great reveal on that show when the big bad guy turned out to be a woman. It always stuck with me. I always thought it was really cool. I loved that show, and so here's maybe a chance to pay a little homage to it. But also just that's how left brain works. It's very derivative in its thinking. It synthesizes, it derives, it calls back to, it does all those kinds of things. Now, for whatever reason, and this is very, very important here, I really want to almost, I'm feeling good because I feel sort of vindicated right now. Why am I vindicated? I'll tell you in a second after I draw these blobs. Just using a smaller pen here and adding some interior detail so I feel satisfied. But that's just it. There we go. What just happened is something I really want to encourage you guys to try. I'm cruising along drawing, and in the back of my head, I'm thinking I really need like a nice, strong visual of this thing so that everyone will get on board with me and be excited about the Heccune Carapace and the idea I'm having for this campaign, right? So I know in my heart of hearts that what I need is a cool piece of art. But I kind of got what you could self-critique as derailed. My hand just wanders back over to my map and wants to draw little bits and bobbles and doodads. That is a highly underestimated magic moment in creativity, which is your boredom leads you from one place to another. And with practice, what you can do is just let it happen in a way that it's not an antithesis to your progress. You can just keep on developing by relaxing into whatever your impulse may be. Remember, you're sort of trying to think like a child as far as your enthusiasm about this concept. So whether that takes the form of writing or mapping or designing, encounter mechanics, or even characters or something, like maybe that's kind of something I'm interested in. Is this level 2? Yeah, I think this is level 2. So yeah, maybe that's something to indulge in really quickly. So remember, I was thinking about these guys, the troops, the crew, or the parasites. So that's two different things, right? And why? I don't know why, but I'm just kind of over here in this little margin. And now could be a time that I can use some of the designs from earlier, like these sort of legs. I know somebody said they really liked these kind of legs. And of course they have arms, all advanced species have arms, right? And weird stuff on their noses if you go by the Star Trek philosophy. Okay, so I kind of have a shape here. And I'm just going to fill it in because filling it in makes me feel happy. Again, number one rule, get those happy endorphins going. Because happy endorphins make you come back to your hobby. So here's kind of an idea for the crew. And then the parasites I see as they're sort of the opposite. They're like these more squat type creatures like this. And they may maybe play almost like a rust monster or like a bullet. So just letting the left brain be derivative like it is. Those fronds that rust monsters have always been kind of fun and interesting to me. So I'm just going to throw these little like frond things on here. It's like those crazy things that moths have, So I kind of have two ideas here. And then I think there are also humans. There are humans on board this thing, and they are sort of like, they're like devotees. So there is like a sort of still a magical, strange, cultish element to this thing. This thing is worshipped wherever it goes by strange forces. Some people are like nature lovers that want to set this thing free. Others are just like doomsday cults because this thing often will just accidentally walk over a city, and so on and so forth. So you see, now I have a lot of work to do all of a sudden. So I'm going to hit Control S, and I'm going to go back to personal mode here. Okay. Ooh, hey Winston, thanks. So thanks everybody for sticking with me. So that's our first step. Yeah, pyronide. So maybe that is sort of a fact. Is like it goes to the ocean because that's where the carapace lays its eggs, and then maybe these eggs wash through subterranean lava tubes or something and find their ways into the mountains, where they take another 400 years to gestate, and only one egg ever hatches at a time. It's like the way that their species communicates with some kind of chemicals or something, but only one ever hatches, and there's this whole almost religion around when one of these things is going to come out of the mountains. Yeah, the train car is an interesting idea. But remember, one of the things I'm also sort of hounding on here is that I'm not collaborating. I am working on my own, on my project. Now, collaborating is a whole, to me, different skill set. Very different, because when you're collaborating, there are so many stinking options, and it can be unclear what your decision-making power is and making a call. And people can get very uncomfortable, honestly, when collaborating, in just saying no. So in this case, this is a perfect case. It's like, I would do it like a centipede. And I'm like, okay, but no, I'm not doing a centipede like a train car thing. That doesn't mean I don't like that idea. It's just not what I'm doing. And that's a different set of skills. I think really collaborating is very, very difficult. I really do. I think it's very easy to be accidentally steamrolled or to be the steamroller in a collaborative environment. It can be very complex, and there's a lot of sort of everybody needs to be on their pro game to collaborate, I think, because everybody wants things to be cooler because more minds are working on it. Sometimes you can get some butthurt kind of stuff going on, or someone maybe digs their heels in on an idea, and that can get complex. So I'm going to table the idea of collaboration for now. Maybe we'll talk about that later this year because that's like heavy stuff. But if I look at the clock, look at that. I've almost spent 1 hour, which was my like allotted time, and I really just have a bit of my grocery list, right? No coordinator can ever heal a collaboration, ever. Matter of fact, they're the worst. The entire concept of creative management has only been created because of corporations and like deadlines and like greed thinking. It's a nightmare to have a manager to a creative collaboration. Absolute nightmare. I do not believe in it. I think creative people should just work directly together and be honest with each other and be pros and show some sand. And that is the substance of great collaboration. Anyway, that's just such an offshoot. So I think we're even going to scale these sort of semi-crustacean insect things all the way down to the tiny. So maybe there's a tiny maintenance force that's almost like sort of mites. And the mites kind of repair this thing as it goes. I don't know. There's a ton of work now ahead. And I'm not going to try to do it all right in this stream. That's the idea. It's just like an hour. Now, maybe put some socks on and put a sock on and, like do some chores for a while. Let it sink in a little bit and come back. And so the next piece will probably be groping at getting that really compelling visual piece, which it might be like a cover art. It might just be just an exciting piece of art that captures everybody and like pulls you guys into what this idea is. And yeah, Vanderpike, a lot of this entire idea has a Cloverfield-like feel to it, but without this raging monster. I really feel kind of weary of that. And I think the word kaiju actually has made the raging monster sort of genre a very weary genre. Kaiju is such a like cartoony summary of the entire genre. I feel it's lost some of its stuff. Now that said, I haven't seen New Godzilla yet, so don't anybody tell me about how awesome it is quite yet. Let me see, battle grids. No, I don't. Battle grids are not for me. I don't believe in precision in any form. I don't believe it's useful. I think it's a false god that game designers hide behind. To think that squares matter, I think, is a way of deferring the attention of the game from its real substance to minutia. And so I just do not believe in precision. Even the translation of a map that you might see in a module you want to run and translating it to your table or to your VTT requires zero precision. You really, in my opinion, need to ask what the idea is, not how many feet it is from the chull to the door. Like, I do not see any utility in that. So I don't think that way. It might be useful for me to think about like size, like exactly how big is this thing, so that I have answers when players ask questions and stuff like that. But grids schmids is my answer on that one. I think the grid really is a remnant of older thinking. Now, you can do a grid-based game, which is like where the grid is everything. I think one of the best designs, you guys are going to hate me for this, the best designs to use grid-like thinking is the Lego RPG. So that comes with the little Lego adventure sets, and it's really just a game of moving spaces, and so the grid is the game. There is no free space. But for me, as more of an RPG player, I don't see that as useful. To me, shoots and ladders is not useful. And that's the greatest utility of a grid, is a game design like shoots and ladders. Or like the Lego RPG. If you guys haven't looked into that, definitely take a look. Amazing, non-numeric, really simple, sort of iconic dice that move you down this path. And really you're just trying to get to the end of the path, but with all the fun trappings of killing monsters and all this stuff. I know that's pretty random, but there you go. A horrible time without the grid. I think that's actually an interesting and telling sign of what kind of game they think they're playing. So if the grid disappears, they think they're not playing it anymore. And this could be a little bit of a clue of what that player considers fun. And you can give them all that fun without it becoming like a grid-like game. You can give them designs where distance matters. And we're going to get into all that stuff. But it doesn't necessarily need to get down to, exactly how far and this is zigzag and I'm half in this and half in this and this guy's, bleh. Give him a banana. I don't think you'd be able to see a banana on the current drawing that I'm doing. That's about it though for today, guys. So this is conceptual development. We've still got work to do. We need to figure out more. And I think we'll have maybe one session where I'm going to try to get the art done for the main piece to show this thing and probably show it from the ground so you have this perception of like, ugh. And then we're going to have another one which will be visually and conceptually developing all the stuff within. So that would be the sort of devotees, the bigger crewmates, the parasites. We're going to start to think about what these could be, maybe do a little bit of art for them. And we're going to have some of the pieces, at least of the climax or finale of the adventure, getting ready to go. Then what I want to do is I'm going to work backwards. So I'm going to have the players discover this phenomenon. And that's going to be the fun part of sort of coming up with what the adventure could be. Now remember, one thing about publishing for other people is that you can't just publish or plan one session at a time like I always preach, because you're not there. You're not going to be present at the tables that are playing your material. So you do have to do some predictive outcomes, and you do have to do a little bit more, I guess what could be called railroading. But if you're clever about it, it's got a wide open enough space for them to play, but not so wide that it's like Chult, where it's just a whole continent, just like, oh my God. So we want a tight little thing, a space in my mind, which would be a lot like the space in Nausicaa, that kind of a space, maybe sort of 3 different spaces that are on a little sort of almost video game-like map. But that's about it. As far as Patreon, this month is a little bit of a crossover. So those of you who are my patrons know that every month I put out a room design and a set of tables that goes with it and do some podcasts, and they usually all go into a similar theme. But this month, I think it's going to be all sort of mixed together. So the outcome will probably be made available to everybody. So this is one of those odd months where what patrons normally only get, everybody's going to get this month. Just to show how this stuff happens, in the hopes that it can help you guys get that like brain balance to get your project done. And by brain balance, I mean keeping your left brain at bay. It's such a jerk sometimes about wanting to finish things and wanting to codify and systematize. It can really be annoying. And that right brain is the fun one that I think for a lot of us brought us to the hobby in the first place, which is like, I just want to pretend to be a dwarf for a night. Is that asking so much? So, yeah, great way to start the day. Thank you. And thank you everybody for tuning in. That's part 1 of the Heccune Carapace. Appreciate it. Keep it real. Don't steal. Yeah. And you always get a deal. This old Ingrid Bernal. I'm going to sign off now. So, you guys have a great weekend, okay? That's about it for me. Boom,